Hey there, how are you? So, this episode has a very selfish motive for me. In this episode, I spoke with Johnny, who has a huge influence on me in terms of how I want to live my life and how I want to navigate through my life. I've been following Johnny since some time now, and we met back in Nepal in 2019. And I was very, very, very excited to have him on the podcast. And I finally had him, uh, and the conversation we had was very interesting. It was like a 1 hour personal coaching session for me because I got to pick his brain, and I got an insight. How does he go through his life? How does he navigate? I got introduced to the philosophy of Stoicism through his Instagram, and it's been very helpful for me in terms of my day-to-day life. And I thought you can benefit from the philosophy of Stoicism because I feel it's not very popular, and especially in Asia, in India. So yes, I got Johnny and we had an amazing conversation. And yeah, without further delay, let's get to today's conversation. Johnny, thank you so much for being on the Manik Kamra podcast. And before we start, I just want to talk about what spiked my interest in minimalism and stoicism. So you remember when you came to Nepal and you told me that
Yeah.
you like all the t-shirts that you have, they're like same t-shirts and in gray color. That got me very curious that what is the reason, because I know that Mark Zuckerberg and a few other entrepreneurs, they also do that. So I just, I was very curious. That's what got me into minimalism. And then eventually I used to see your post on Instagram and Facebook, and I used to be like very intrigued by what stoicism actually is. And I started reading about it. I found it very, very interesting, and that's the reason I wanted to get you on the podcast so that we can educate people about stoicism. So, first question is, Johnny, how are you? And second, what is stoicism? Like basic stoicism 101 definition.
All right. So yeah, I've been doing great. Just came back to Malaysia, catching up with a lot of stuff, but overall great. I mean, when it's come to work and life, I mean, not everything is perfect, but I mean, it's good as it is, and it's good to appreciate it and yeah, appreciate life. And for Stoicism, I came to it about like 3 years ago, and been investing a lot of time on that. And what Stoicism is, it's a philosophy. It's an ancient philosophy. It's created by the Greek and perfected by the Romans. So it's usually referred to like Greco-Roman philosophy. It's like one of the descendant of Socratic philosophy as well. Not directly, but yeah, it came from there. So yeah, it's been a very old philosophy, and it's been used mainly for cultivating virtues in life and transcendent.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and we've been using it today mostly in like I mean popularized like about a decade or two ago in Silicon Valley as well, mainly for people to practice endurance, especially for entrepreneurs who just started, because they might experience a lot of hardship, right? So it's just like something to toughen them up and build some resiliency around that.
Right. Johnny, so before we get into like how to of stoicism, I want to ask, so you told that you came across the philosophy of stoicism 3 years ago, and you have been practicing
Yeah.
stoicism. So I want to ask, how has your life changed in these 3 years? Like, especially in terms of how do you approach your day, or how do you navigate through life?
I think overall the key change that I see is level of productivity increase, because it changed a lot of my expectation about life and other people, right? I think one of the thing that is being practiced in Stoicism is what are the things that is in your control and not in your control. So having that perspective clear, I kind of know like, okay, what are the things that I should focus on, like not really the things that I do not have much control over, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like though I don't have direct control over, there might be some stuff that I have direct control over. So I work on those, and overall it's just more productive, and I could create more outputs. And in a way, it also helped me to not be very stressful, and at the same time it helped me to be happier as a person, because I focus on stuff that really matter to me, and overall it increase the life overall satisfaction and happiness in general. So yeah, productivity and happiness, I would say. Yeah, regardless of the circumstances and hardship
Mm-hmm.
that might be experienced. I mean, it doesn't cure perfectly, at least for me, but at
Okay.
least it help a lot. You know, it's like in giving perspective on how to live.
So, when you were talking about, like, there are a few things that are under our control, and then there are things that are not under our control. So, I remember reading this in the book that you recommended to me. So, there are, like, what the book said, there are three things, three categories basically. First is the things that we cannot control. Second is the things that
Mm.
we can control, like our emotions, our behavior. And then the third category is the things that we have some control over. And then the book
Yeah.
says that, like, one of the techniques is to not bother about things that we cannot control the things that
Yeah.
we can fully control. And then for the third category, internalizing the goals that we have. For example, like the example, I'll say the example that was in the book. So if you play a tennis match, then of like some degree of you win, like, you can control the game in terms of if you practice more. But then
Mm.
your goal should not be that you have to win the game. Your goal should be that you have to
Mm.
perform your best, right? Is that right? I
Yeah.
just want to ask you. I've been telling this to a lot of people that, like, and this became, like, even before I started reading this book, I think internalizing the goals is really, really important. Because, like, I tell this to a lot of people, that do not attach yourself to a particular outcome, especially if it's not under your control. Like, getting this number of funding for your startup, or like, scoring a job at this company. All of these things, like, they are like, to some degree, they, to some extent, they are under your control. But at the end, the decision is, like, the ball is not in your court, right? So internalize your goals. Don't attach yourself to this particular outcome. Like, chase a purpose and not an outcome. That's what I used to say. And this book also kind of validated the thoughts that I had.
Yeah. I mean, it's like that, and I think another way to put it is more like focusing on the system over the result, right? It doesn't mean that okay, we shouldn't have a goal, we shouldn't have a result. Of course, we need to have, and for stoic individual, they also have big goals and stuff like that, right? What they want to do in life, what they want to give, so on
Hmm.
and so forth. Uh, so we need to have that. We need to have an end in mind. What exactly, for what purpose that we want to do all this stuff, right? To yeah, to which goal? But the thing is like not to be totally obsessed with it, right? I mean, in the end of the day, whether we achieve the goal or not, it's just data, you know. It's just like yeah, learn from it. That's part of the
Hmm.
process, and focus on other process that we can do better. Like for example, if I want to make this amount of money,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, looking at the number every day, it it doesn't help much, you know. It just stress me out and so on, and it is not practical as well. So okay, I want to have like more money and more sales and so on and so
Hmm.
forth, but what is that thing that I should be doing today? It's not clear. We need to define the system. For example, like oh, if I want to have like more sales, then practically it's very simple. I mean, the thing that I have full control over is not to make sales, but to do sales call, right? It's more like a
Okay.
measure on this kind of system, the system, and also the process. What are the things that I'm doing today to actually help me to do that? So the same thing, if you want to lose weight, weighting ourselves on the scale doesn't
Hmm.
really like, you know, like doesn't see much different, right? We don't have direct control on the weight, but we have direct control on our daily stuff, like how many
Yeah.
times that we do the exercise, how many times we
Mm-hmm.
hit the gym, or how many times we stretch in a week, or how we uh, do our diets, like cooking and like all these ingredients, is fully in our control. So if you focus on those things that we have full control over, uh, we make progress to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in case, in a sense that it doesn't really actually have a direct control, I mean direct control over the result based on what we're doing, then just take it as data, right? I mean, like, okay, what can we do differently because we do this stuff that we can control but it doesn't really contribute, so analyze and just have a better plans. Yeah.
So your answer actually made me curious about a lot of things, especially your approach towards various things. But before that, I want you to explain a few techniques of stoicism, especially the ones that you apply in your daily life. I'll tell you my favorite one. Like as of now, what uh, has actually like this is something that I think I will implement for a very long time is the negative visualization. So but I want you to explain the techniques that you implement in your daily life and that have been helping you navigate through your life.
I think we can start with the negative visualizations. Yeah. I think it helped a lot, like in shaping my perspective around stuff, right? Like, oh, I want people to say good thing about me. I want to, like, be lucky and all this kind of stuff, but it's not up to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I mean, negative visualization actually help us to ground ourselves, to not really have too much expectation, because one of the thing that was said, I think by Seneca, who's saying that we're hurt, no, we suffer in imagination more than reality, and expectation is totally imaginations, because we don't have full control over what other people think, what other people do about us. But yeah, so to ground ourselves, we're totally in control in what we do, regardless of the circumstance. So that kind of mental practice of negative visualization, thinking of the worst case and stuff like that, can help, like, me practically, like, to be able to perform in a certain circumstances that might not favor me, but I may be able to overcome that in one way or another. So negative visualization is one, and I think to take that to a further extent, uh, Tim Ferriss has a good model like around this. He created this framework out of negative visualization, and it's called fear setting process. You can check also. He have a TED talk on that. So basically, it's just like, yeah, what are the things that you're scared of? Like, what's your fear? And okay, you list it out, and then what can you do to prevent that fear from happening? Let's say I'm scared of losing my job, and how to prevent that? Obviously, it's like, oh, I need to prepare. Uh, I need to work harder in my job and stuff like that, right? And okay, prevention is there, and then what is the other thing that we can do is, if it happened, how can we repair or minimize the impact? And that may be, okay, like have an emergency fund and stuff like that, right? So it can last longer if this would happen, and before I could find a new job, so on and so forth. So yeah, so it just to put our fear into it, just to look at it and really analyze it. What are the things that we can do if these things happen? Because fear is totally irrational. Like, yeah, it's totally irrational. One of the U.S. president, he also said, like, the only thing that we have to fear is fear itself. Uh, yeah, so challenge our fear and just see what I think we can do. And when we can see clearly, okay, this is what I can do to prevent. What is the thing that I can do to repair it? Then we're more calm. So to this day, like, I'm less scared of fear. Like before, I mean, one of the common and silly thing that I used to have, it's very common, is I was scared of dark. Like at home, when I go downstairs to the kitchen just to take water, I might be scared, like, oh, there might be ghosts or some stuff. But practicing stoicism, it's just like suddenly, it's just like I'm not scared of it anymore. Like, oh, if the ghost come, I just scream, and yeah. So negative
Right.
visualization, fear saying, another one that been impacting me a lot is uh, practicing, you know, like this memento mori thing. Memento mori, it means like remember you will die. So that's one of the
Mm.
Stoic practice, but it's not to kind of make us feel miserable that oh we'll die, but it's just a reminder like to live because we. I mean, one of the thing I think Seneca said it. I think it's Seneca saying that we have a lot of time to live, but we just waste a lot of it. Right,
Yeah.
so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so it just stuff that I been thinking, okay, if the last day of my life, what I would be doing, what would I not be doing, like yeah, all of this stuff. So I mean, I'm not perfect. I mean, I do still waste time one way or another, but this help a lot, you know, like you know, like how I shape my conversation with other people
Mm-hmm.
to like yeah, to be more kind with other people. And for example, like if it's the last day of my life, like would I want to spend time doing certain stuff or being with certain people, right? Be more authentic with that. And also it come to another extent, like okay, if this is the last day of my life, who would I want to spend time with? Let's say my family
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. I would might drop them a text and stuff like that. Yeah, and just to yeah be authentic with what I have to say. So so if I die, I don't have regret, you know. And another one is also to start thinking, what if it's the last day of this person's life? We cannot predict, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the world is uncertain. We never know. Life is uncertain. So, for
Absolutely.
example, if someone like being unkind to me, would I want to shout back? Like, you know, like, yeah, like if one is not worth the effort. Second is that
Mm-hmm.
if this is the last day of this person's life, would I want to leave that impression to that person? You know, so I don't want that to be the last memory. You know, that causing harm to a person. That doesn't mean that okay, I don't give people feedback. I do, but
Okay.
like just senseless criticism that is not useful. It's not worth it. You know.
Mm-hmm. One of
Yeah,
the
key
greatest
things.
fears that I used to have was, and I think a lot of people do have this, that my parents will die someday. I love my parents, right? Uh, but during, like, after this COVID happened, I came back from Nepal. Then, like, it
Mm,
took me some time, but then I embraced this thing that everyone here is immortal, including my parents, and they have to die. So I embraced this thing that they'll die someday, and then I should make the
mm.
most out of the time that I do have on this, on, like, on earth, on in this life. And same goes for my parents. Like, I should make the most out of it, right?
That's
Johnny, so
true.
you're talking about the regrets. So I want to ask, like, if you die today, would you have any regrets?
Mm, I cannot think of any. I mean, I might, but I cannot
I
think
don't
of
want to
any. Like
startle you. Just asking.
yeah, I know. Like, but I don't know. I cannot really think of anything. Like, sometimes I just feel like I'm ready for it. You know, it's like it's not like okay, like I'm obsessed that I want to die or something. There's a lot of stuff that I want to do while I live. Right, like I have
Mhm.
a certain goal and mission that I want to do and I want to achieve it, but I don't hold attachment. You know, it's like I think part of the practice of stoicism is that I mean, if it's your time, then it's your time, right? Like
Mm.
we have to go, right? But it doesn't like, but like it is not really to validate. Okay, like oh, I should end myself in a way, right?
Right.
Stoicism is against that. I like one of this saying. It doesn't directly come to stoicism, right? But it's like it's from one of the movie. It's called Rome, HBO series. He was like this that guy is like his whole family died and stuff like that. And people ask him like, why you're still living? Why you not suicide?
Mhm.
And he was saying that, oh, I only pray to the God of death. If he doesn't come to me yet, there must be a reason. So my mission is not over in a way. And yeah, so So it's just like that. If we live, then there must be something that we, it's like stuff that we need to achieve. uh we shouldn't hasten that, but if it comes, then yeah. you know uh like just yeah, just not to be obsessed with it, but like, okay, if we it's come, because there's a lot of stuff that can happen that we don't have control over, right, about life. Like I mean, with all this coronavirus is one, but it's not, may not be the deadliest thing, but like, for example, like natural disaster,
True, true. Yes.
like, yeah. So I used to have this experience uh, around the time that I worked with you. I stay in Philippines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that I start, like the year moving to Philippines, before I even start, like before I arrive on my college, like her name is Jessie. She's actually sent an article saying that, oh, there's actually a forecast that an earthquake should happen in the past few years, but it didn't happen yet, and this is the biggest earthquake in every 500 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be around the corner. It's like it could come like 7.0, 8.0, or maybe worse. I don't know. It's just people are freaked out. It's like some people may see it as like a doomsday or something, and
Okay.
it's crazy. And to me, I don't want to live every single day that, being scared of an earthquake that it might
Mm-hmm.
come,
Mm-hmm.
because it is just stressful. It's just not productive, right? You know that, okay, it's like it's coming. So this practice has actually helped me a lot. It's just like, yeah, I mean, if it comes, it comes, and what I can do is to prepare myself, right, to not be scared of it, to not I mean, practice mortality, like daily mortality is like actually help, like to not be scared of that in a way, and just prepare, like what do people do when earthquake hit, because I'm not from a country that like that's earthquake is commons,
Mm-hmm.
and apparently I didn't. So it's dumb. but
Oh, it did not
but
come.
the thing is, like, yeah, but it's like
Oh.
like about 10 months later, an earthquake did happen. Not that drastic earthquake, but it's like 6.3. It's still heavy. So
Mm-hmm.
I was in our apartment, and it's on the 27th floor,
Yeah, I
and
remember.
it
Yes.
starts shaking and stuff. Like, yeah, it is crazy. But the funny thing is that when it happened, I wasn't panicked. Like I was with other two college. We were staying in the same
Mm-hmm.
apartment,
Mm-hmm.
and we ran down the exit. And that moment, I remember I was so analytical, and I'm just not scared. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
guy, let's move this way. Let's go here. Let's go here. Take the stair, and but part of me is also excited. It's like, yeah, I mean, I've been
It has
prepared for this.
finally
Now
come.
it's coming.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
my
yeah. And I
preparations did
was
not
run.
go into vain.
Hey, exactly. So it's silly, but we get out, and then I was like, hey guys, like, let's move here. We stand too close with this very tall building, and like that, right? So it kind of I've been rational. I'm not like fear crying and just like out of panic. I'm just
Mhm.
totally uh calm, and just can make a rational decision in that moment. And I think it's pretty interesting. But just like I feel like that is one of the things that we it's one of human biggest fear. I think in some culture talked to anyone about that, because yeah,
Mhm.
it's not good, right? But the thing is, like, yeah, it's a fear, but when you're able to conquer that, like the fear of it's just powerful. You can do a lot of stuff.
I remember you telling me that the earthquake was like it became so common in Manila, Philippines that sometimes people don't even bother. Like, even when there are like like earthquakes of small magnitude, people don't even bother
Mhm.
that an
Yeah.
earthquake is happening or we should go downstairs or something. People don't even bother. And yeah, I do agree with Johnny with what you said about the like that you are a that you feel that you have been prepared for your death. And before we get into your personal navigation and everything, I want to ask you, Johnny, what are a few myths around stoicism that people have, or if someone who does not have the full knowledge, what are the myths that a person would come across in Stoicism?
I think commonly it just, I think in vocabulary wise, stoicism, I mean, it has different meaning. If you capitalize the S and not capitalize the S, right? Or the word
Hmm.
stoic, for example, if it's capitalized the S and not at all, like if you use it as an adjective,
Okay.
so it has different meaning. One is about the philosophy, right? The one with capitalized, or a student of this Stoicism philosophy. But if you uncapitalized, it has a totally different meaning. Not too different, but it just can be misunderstood. It might mean like, oh, someone who suppress the feeling. So it doesn't mean in a good way, right? The word stoic sometimes people use to refer to a person who, it's like angry but not willing to show,
Yeah.
like
Like,
being
to-
emotionless, or
yeah, toning down the emotions, or like not like without any expression, right?
yeah, it's like an Asian dad in a way, like it's like not really having any
That's
expression
a
and stuff
very
like that. It's just
that's a very apt that's a very apt example.
yeah, yeah. It's just like that. So it's not like that for stoicism. Like a person who's practiced stoicism, right, and into their daily life, they don't suppress emotion. They just like feel cool with it. Like the idea of stoicism is not to reject emotion, but it is to cope up with difficult emotions. That's the thing that it should be about. It's not to reject emotion entirely and all this stuff, but it's actually, yeah, I mean, understand that we all feel emotion, and apparently it's like we feel a bunch of that is pretty destructive, right? But the philosophy is there to actually help us to cope with that emotion, cope with loss, cope with grief, and so
Hmm.
on and so forth, right? So yeah, so that is the most misconception, is to think that it's about stop having emotion. It's just not like that. uh but it's about to have a healthy connection with ourselves and our emotion, so that we don't self-destruct ourselves in a way.
Johnny, so when you remember the example that you gave before, that if someone is let's say if someone is abusing you, if someone is saying something bad to you, you think that, should you reply to this? Should you say something bad to this person in return? Because what if this is the last time you are meeting that person, and this is not the
Mm.
impression that you want to leave on that person? Johnny, I want to
Mm.
ask, how has your like the way you communicate verbally and non-verbally, how has it changed? I'm sure the non-violent communication part, like it would have become very prominent after you started following the philosophy of stoicism. So how has it changed your
Mm.
communication verbally and non-verbally both?
I think partly it's not to fuel my emotions into what I say. It doesn't mean that okay, I don't express emotion. I do,
Mm-hmm.
but what I mean is more like to fuel destructive emotion into conveying my thought and feeling. For example, if feel like I'm angry and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is more like understanding, okay, why I feel angry, why I feel triggered by this. And it's actually lead to a deeper answer, which is not about other people, it's about myself, right? About my expectations towards stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
it kind of deepening into more like a self-awareness in general. It's just like, yeah,
Yeah.
self-awareness is not about what I know about myself, but it's also how I impact other people around me, right? In the way I communicate and stuff like that. If they react a certain way that making angry, then yeah, like why do I feel angry about this? About how people talk to me and stuff like that. Should that bother me or not? Like, it's like that. That is more like a internal assessment when it's come to my own communication, when I have a certain kind of feeling or trigger with the
Mm-hmm.
other person. Then I'm kind of like, yeah, what's wrong with me to feel like this? Another one is to have more accountability in myself, in saying what I have to say. And this applying to job, for example,
Mm-hmm.
my working in the past years. It just to me, I'm quite. I mean, I grew up in a culture of small conflict at first, like not really into like having conflict or having a fight with someone,
Yeah.
and that comes sometimes it's just like avoid conversation, especially conversation that I need to have with my team, etc. And yeah, especially when I was leading a team and stuff like that, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't keen, right? I mean, naturally, but I think this actually helped me to kind of like feeling like, okay, it's not, I mean, it's, I'm not doing my job if I don't say this, you know, if I don't point
Okay.
out the issue, even though it make me or the other person uncomfortable, because it is important in our job. Because the thing is very important in stoicism is about like, what are things that you can control and actually work on that. And if saying this is under my control and I don't do it, then I'm not doing my job in a way, right? So so yeah, so it made me more productive in what I do, in
Mm-hmm.
what I need to communicate and request from other people if I have to, because it's not their fault if they don't do stuff for me because I didn't ask them, right?
Yeah. So, Johnny,
Yeah.
in terms of your corporate life, do you feel that stoicism has, made it better? Like being a team member first, being a good team member, or being a being a good leader. Do you think how has it, and do you think if it has affected your life in terms of your professional life in a better way?
Mm, I think it doesn't really matter, to be honest, like whether you're a team leader or a team member. Like it just help in general in
Mm-hmm.
the way you operate to be more productive. In general, Tim Ferriss, he has a saying that like stoicism is actually an optimal operating system, how you operate in your daily life. And it just to me it just make me productive in like doing my job. It's just like, like clearly understand, okay, what are the things that I can control and just work on that. It's just that's
Okay.
like very
Mm-hmm.
simple, right? and and the thing is like when we have different role in life, we have different line of responsibility that is totally under our control, right? Let's say
True.
if I'm a team member, my job is like, okay, like I need to work on this report, I need to do this, I need to do that, and I need to report to my manager and stuff like that. I mean, all the stuff that I have to do. So it keep me accountable. For example, my I wouldn't want to kind of like uh, uh, being pointed out like I didn't do this, do that, right? It's an internal responsibility in a way that I have to work on that. And if I'm a leader, for example, my role is different, right? Where I can, for example, I don't have control what my member would do,
Right.
but I'm in full control on what I do to them, like my coaching, my meeting, and stuff like that. I need to prioritize. If I don't do that, nobody else do. Then, I mean, ultimately, this is the most important thing that I should be doing. Right? You can control that. And from
Mm.
what I've learned in some teams from the organization we used to work with, right? It's like sometimes we are too obsessed with the outputs, like the number of growth of the organization and stuff like that. But as a leader, we don't have direct control with that. Our job is to lead the team, and it's direct control, right? So work on that. So that's why I would say whether a team members and team leaders, whatever stage you're in life, uh, definitely it, it's help like to be productive and really define what is that important thing that we should be doing. This philosophy might not be for everyone, but I mean, using it right is actually might help like a lot in being productive in general. In yeah.
Yeah, 100% Johnny. And this is going to be my take back, one of the take backs from this conversation, that whatever your members do, that's not in your control. But what you do to them is in your control. And the way you coach them, or the way you communicate, the way you delegate the work. And I think this, I'm sure this is going to help me a lot. And Johnny, as you said, we should focus on systems and not on outcomes, because a lot of them are not in our control. And I fully agree with that. And I do think that it also adds, like this line would add a lot of value to my life and anyone who is listening to the conversation. So Johnny, a bit of about like minimalism I want to talk to you about, because I'm still curious that what's the real why of like what's the why of your minimalism. I'm sure because I remember you have a count of the number of things you have. You wear the same like same t-shirt, like various t-shirts but same design and everything. So I want to ask you, what's your why of this, and how has it been helping you in your daily life?
I'm not too sure if I would call myself minimalist. Like I'm still working on that, and I don't know what's the what is it like the I mean, it's the ideal that I'm trying to live toward, but I'm not
Hmm.
sure if I would consider myself one at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I started dumping out everything. I mean, like 2 years ago, and just stuff that it just yeah, it doesn't help. It's just like so cluttered in my life, and it's just like I don't want my space to be like that. Stuff that I don't care, and I just want to empty my space so that it's like if we declutter our environment in a way to help us to think better, right? At least for me. So I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, all this stuff that I don't need, I just should dump it away. I just donate to some places, especially clothes. Oh my God, just crazy. So, so yeah, it helped me in just be more conscious on the things that I have. Financially, it does help as well. I mean, not to go
Absolutely.
crazy. It's just like, yeah, I mean, you get
Yeah.
paid today and just like, yeah, go shopping, online shopping and all this stuff. It's like, I wouldn't
um,
want that. Like, I haven't bought t-shirt for like 2 years. Like,
mhm.
yeah, I mean, that I should save a lot. Like now I wouldn't go, for example, if I go to the mall, I I don't do window shopping for clothes, for example, because I
Mhm.
know that okay. I mean, having this kind of clear kind of uniform, it kind of helps. Like I'm not gonna buy a T-shirt from a different brand. I'm not gonna buy a T-shirt with a different colors, for example.
Mhm.
So I kind of like stick with this, like formula. So if I'm gonna buy, I'm buying the same thing and the same thing. I can still use it, so why bother, right? so,
Okay.
yeah, stuff like that, and another one is that kind of. I mean, it doesn't always win the temptation, but it does help a lot in kind of reflecting of what I want before. For example, uh, when I want to buy something, it just not just buy directly, but have a moment, pause, and just to think. Uh, if I buy this, what does it look like in 3 months? What does it look like in 6 months? What does it look like in
Oh.
1 year? Do I still use that? Right. So yeah, and that is kind of hope, like to kind of like before I accumulate a certain item that I would think. Another one that I do, I mean, I do online shopping. It's like recently quite a lot. They just moved back, and I know that I
Yeah, you are
need
in
certain stuff.
Malaysia. It's shoppers
Yeah,
paradise.
just bags. So I bought a few stuff like some gym equipments, and I bought some few decorated item online, stuff like that.
Mhm.
What I try to do is like before I buy it, just leave it in the cart for a few days,
Okay.
and just like just like, oh, I want it, and just buy directly, but it's just to leave it there for like 24 hours, 48 hours. Do I still want to buy that in the next few days? Then I can think at least more rationally, in a way. And I came back and look at all the stuff in my house. It's just like, I mean, especially in my closet, right? There are a lot of formal clothes
Mhm.
that I have. Before I was thinking that okay, it would be good to wear that for office, but I don't go to office anymore. Another one is like our office do not require to wear, like it's like too formal. I mean,
Mhm.
I can just go and wear a t-shirt, right? So I don't really use it. So I kind of like, yeah, maybe I should keep it just in case. So I'm still working on that. I'm removing stuff like this. I counted stuff I have. It's like close to 200, and might
Oh,
without
I.
counting some of the consumable item like
Mhm.
grocery and stuff like that. It is like 194 or something. So I documented all of that. So now I'm starting to kind of like, okay, I own this. When do I get out? What are the stuff that uh, is under use? And if I have new item, I need to record it there.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not so full blown like minimalism. Yeah, I mean it's a good ideal, but I'm just using it to kind of understand like my own need. What are the things that I need? If I need it, like if it make my life happier in a way, then why not, right? And
I
I
think.
don't think minimalism is about having little
Mhm.
as possible, but it's more like yeah, to have so little so you have room for the stuff that you care, can live more. Yeah,
One thing that
but usually it can go
yeah.
off track. It's just more like oh I have more item than you. Oh, you have less item than me. It's
Mm,
not about that. Like I
true,
think
true.
different people have different needs. So yeah,
One thing that it does to you, so whatever you're doing, like, tracking all the things that you have, I think it just connects you more with yourself. You become more self-aware, and you get a better understanding of yourself. So that's one of the things that it does to you. And Johnny, my like follow-up question to you is, what's your relationship with money right now? And like, what's your approach towards capital building and all of like the financial aspect of life?
money is a goal, I would say, but a bad master, right? I mean, yeah, it's a good tool, but a bad master. So uh, I do work on accumulating more stuff like that, right? I mean that's why I still have a job, and that's why I work on start new projects, stuff like that. So
Hmm.
so yeah, I mean it is good to have because like people say, I mean money does affect happiness,
Yeah,
definitely, only to a
absolutely.
certain extent, right?
Exactly, to a certain extent.
But it's good, yeah. And I mean, they're saying that's like, oh, money is the root of all evil. I mean, yeah, but it's really it's deep rooted in our personality, right? I mean, our characters. If we work on that, then it shouldn't be a problem. Money doesn't really it's not evil, but it's only reveal the deepness in ourselves, right?
Yeah,
Like it's only
it's a
real
tool.
money,
True.
powers, and all this stuff.
Yeah, we
So
yes.
so I have no problem. I'm not like oh, it's like money is bad. I don't want to. I mean, it does make my life, and I mean, if I have more money, I can give more, right? I mean, for my family and some other
True,
people, and
true, true.
clear out all my stress. I mean, maybe I can hire someone to actually do some of the work that I don't like. I can just like uh, open my business or like in a certain way, so I don't have to work for someone,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Maybe I can choose someone to work with and stuff like that. So yeah, I
Right.
mean, I'm totally cool with that, but like not not like okay chasing money because I want it, but it's more like does it align with my uh, core values and what is it that I'm trying to achieve in wanting that, right? So it's not like money is a goal, but money is a tool that I want to have so that it can enable me to live differently or more comfortable or satisfied.
Something you said, Johnny, it's a like money is a tool, not a master. I like totally agree with this. And can you explain this more for our listeners?
It's actually a quote from somewhere. I totally forget. It's quite yeah, but it's just like this. Like so so I think a simple analogy of thinking about it is just let's say our phone, our smartphone, right? We think that we own the phone, but sometimes it's actually own us, because we cannot let it go.
Right. True, true.
We feel the responsibility that I have to hold it. I need to check my message and stuff like that. So having more stuff in our life doesn't necessarily mean more freedom. It actually mean more responsibility, right? So for example, like if we have a lot of stuff at home, we are responsible to actually clean it up like regularly and stuff like that. So by what I mean is like not to have it own us, it's not to dominate our decision making and stuff like that. uh so it's just like yeah, I mean when I would want to choose to do something, it's not like money is the first thing that come into my mind, but like let's say for example now I do content creation and stuff like that. I haven't actually have anyone like to actually do sponsors for me, but at least the ground rule that I have for myself is that I wouldn't accept any sponsorship that doesn't really live up to my personal value. Let's say, for example, like uh, cigarette, alcohol, and stuff like that. Right? It's not like I do drink alcohol, but like I do not want to enforce it in a way and stuff like that. Right? If it's stuff that I truly don't believe in, then I would just say no. It's not just because of money, for example. If money is the only thing that actually outline the guideline of our decision, then it's only that money that we have. We lose everything, you know. It's like it cost is huge, you know. So there's one thing in Stoicism that was saying that if it doesn't harm your characters, it doesn't harm you. I think said by Marcus Aurelius. So characters to me is should be the biggest thing, right? If we sell our characters for money, I think yeah, it just that's not great. I don't want to use a word for that. So yeah.
Beautiful answer, Johnny. Your answer reminds me of something. Like I was a child back then. I was very young, so I used to watch a lot of cricket, and one of the players of a team, South Africa. His name was. He still plays. His name is Hashim Amla, right? So, an alcohol brand sponsors like their T-shirts and everything, and then for every like he on his t-shirt the logo was not there, right? And per match he was fined like some $1,000 just because he did not agree that on his t-shirt there should be a logo of an alcohol brand. And like my respect for
That's
that
horrible.
person, yeah, like it became like to like many folds after I got to know, because the fine was humongous. And I used to wonder. I was what 8 or 9 years old. I used to wonder, why is that? Why wouldn't he want an alcohol? Like it's just a logo. I used to wonder, but then what you said, it really resonates, and it really like it's very
Mm,
like I do agree. I think if I would have been in his place, I would have done the same. So Johnny,
that's
like
cool. Yeah.
this, I'm very curious. You talked about your core values. What are your core values?
Core values. I mean, it's a lot of stuff. I mean, like core value can be, for example, in the sense of the mission that I try to live up to. It's more like uh, one is education, right? I value learning, right? I value learning and all this kind of stuff to enable people to live the best
Mm-hmm.
life. That is one. And another one is happiness in general. I want to actually help people to find their way, you know, it's like to be happy in a way. Like how I find stoicism is actually make me happy. Like it's not
Okay.
to preach that, but it's just to encourage people to be happy in a way. So happiness to me, it's my own core value is to live life that in a way is make me satisfied
Mm-hmm.
personally, not because other people tell me you should do that and you feel happy. Yeah, that is second one. And yeah, there's a bunch of others like living honestly, authentic, and yeah, and be optimistic in a way. And it was like negative visualization and all this kind of stuff. But like, yeah, it's actually like practicing negative visualization actually helped me to see stuff more positively.
Hmm. True.
So I like seeing stuff like, you know, it's like being more positive environment. And yeah, and most importantly, the core value is my characters, you know. What who I am as a person,
Yeah.
my yeah, and all this kind of stuff, like what I do, my action, and all this kind of stuff, it's all matter, like in a sense.
I think you become more grateful towards things that you have towards towards your life. And I think there's this one thing that I read, that if you want to live a happy life, start wanting things that you already have. And that really resonated
Yeah.
with me. I That was beautiful. That's a beautiful line. And Johnny, so one of the things that I like that I do, so I read, and I've been doing this before I, started reading about stoicism. So what I do, that I don't eat, like, in, like, after some time, like, I eat when I'm very extremely hungry. I don't do this every day, but I try to do this like twice or thrice a week, that I'll eat only and whenever I'm like extremely hungry. Because and this is something that I read in the book as well, that you need to have this temporary, like temporary incidents, temporary, like, scenarios. You need to live a
Suffering.
temporary,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's the word I was looking for, temporary sufferings. You need to do that. So I do that, like, I just eat when I'm extremely hungry. Like, I do fasting of 20 24. I know it's not a lot, but still for me it's, like, I feel very grateful after I eat, after 20 or 24 hours. I feel very grateful towards the food I have, and I like enjoy eating that food. So that's something I've been doing. And Johnny, I have like last two questions for you, like a ending note. So if someone wants to start stoicism at, like, right now, or just want to get more aware of it, where should that person start from? Like, what would be the first steps towards stoicism?
Mm, I mean, reading books. Yeah, it's a philosophy, so it require like reading and thinking.
Yeah.
So yeah, start reading about it and
Mm-hmm.
having more time to think about it. It's like we don't have to read and rush in a way. I mean, one page a day is still cool. Just
Mm-hmm.
read and just think. How that actually how what's the meaning that you see from this applying to your current life right now, or what's happening today and stuff like that. So reading definitely, and you can do it in many way. I mean, you can read the remaining works of Stoicism that still exists until today, like
Mm-hmm.
Meditation by Marcus Aurelius, Letters from a Stoic by Seneca,
Okay.
and Discourses and Enchiridion by Epictetus. So these are, yeah, three of them are considered as like the Stoic sage, like top three. I think one is because the role they play, another one is because uh, pretty much like their work is the one that existing in our today's world. Because Stoic philosopher, they write a lot, but usually they don't write for themselves. Like, I mean, to publish a book and stuff like that. Like Marcus Aurelius' book is his own personal diary. Seneca's book is actually a letter he sent to his friend, and then somebody's actually consolidate that and become a book. Epictetus' books is pretty much like a notes like notebooks from his student, and then his student made it share available for other people. So yeah, I mean, start with those. That would be good. So you have a more uh, foundational way of thinking it. And some modern day writer that you might want to look at is Ryan Holiday. He wrote a bunch of books on Stoicism. Some of it is not like directly about Stoicism, but a lot of inspiration is actually from it. Like Ego is the Enemy, Obstacles Away, Daily Stoic, a very good one that
Mm-hmm.
want to be able to like read one page a day and reflect. Like I'm doing that right now as well.
Okay.
I read a bunch of those like many times, and another one is Donald Robinson's. He wrote a bunch of books. Like the very good one that I read is How to Think Like a Roman Emperor,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and William B. Iwen. Something about good life. His book
Yeah,
on
a
Stoicism also
guide,
a very
a
good one.
guide
The
to
one I,
the a guide to the good life. The book that you recommended me, The Ancient Art of
yeah, I
Stoicism.
only read that like a few months ago. Like I
Yeah,
should have
it's
read
it's
that
really
like
good.
so much longer. It's a very very good one.
Right. So I was reading this almanac of Nawal Ravikant, and it says that if you want to understand anything, even let's it be economics or math, you need to know the foundations of it. Because if you don't, then it's just you are doing everything in the air. Like you're not actually getting it. You're just putting it in your mind, and you will implement it that for some time, and then you'll forget it. But if you understand where has it come from, if you understand how what were the theories, what failed, what did not, so you'll have a better understanding and probably have that for your whole life, right? uh and
Yeah.
yeah, so you're talking about Ryan Holiday. His book, I think it's called Stillness. That's in my, like, that's the next book that I'll read.
Guinness
Like
is a
it's
key.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's a good one.
yeah, it's in my reading list. Anyway, Johnny, my last question to you is, like, I just want to know the book recommendation, not related to Stoicism, but general book that, and I know, like, different books help different people, but what are the books that you think everyone should read?
Oh, that's just hard, man. I mean, not necessarily about Stoicism, but like Marcus Aurelius Meditations. I think whether you're interested in Stoicism or not, like I think it's a powerful book to read. Yeah, because it just guide you, and like it's not guide. It's just like trigger the thought about what you think about life. With this, it's like enormous wisdom, and I think that is really cool, and it's read by many people that is very powerful across history, like Frederick. No, no, not Frederick Nietzsche. It's like Frederick the Great. Uh, some U.S. president, I think, like in a way, what's his name? I forgot. Theodore Roosevelt. J.K. Rowling also read that a bunch of powerful individuals should have it in there themselves and keep it and read it every now and then. I think it's very very good book, and it's the book that is written as a diary, and it lasted for 2,000 years, and it must be some value to that, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a powerful books. Another one is Ego's Identity, Ryan Holiday.
Hmm.
I think it's good because like we're living in a world where it's like uh the rise of narcissism is like, yeah, it's like everything is about us, the me generation and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's me. Yeah.
And I think good is to have it into perspective and just start seeing ourselves and practice humility and stuff like that. Another great book is Sapien by
Oh, okay.
Yuval Noah
Yuval
Harari.
Noah Harari, yes.
Yeah, it's totally shaped my dimension and how I think about stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And another great one that I've seen, like the Almanac of Ravikant.
Yeah,
It's actually
I just read
free.
that.
Like yeah, it's amazing books. I think it's a lot of pieces of wisdom there. And it's a great one. Let me think of another one.
Yeah, that's a book that I think I'll read every year because so I believe when you're reading, you like you pick some things, and then when you read it again, you pick different things. So I think the
Hmm.
Almanac of Naval Ravikant is something that I'll read every year. Another book that I want to add is Thinking Fast and Slow. I think that's an amazing book, and
I haven't read that one yet.
if there's just one book that I have to recommend, that would be Thinking Fast and Slow. I absolutely loved it. Talks a lot
Yeah.
about human cognition and why we do what we do. So that's an interesting
Mm.
read. I really enjoyed that. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and another one that I think that we should read is Essentialism
Mm,
by Greg McKeown. It's a great one
I've
as
heard
well.
about that.
And last one is Obstacles Away by Ryan Holiday.
Hmm.
I think that's pretty much. It's really depend on what a person like want to develop in their life. I mean, maybe in
Right.
health
Right.
and work and stuff like that, or leadership. I think it's all different, like based on what we learn. But I think this list might be applicable for most of us in a way.
Right. Johnny, thank you so much for such an insightful conversation. Is there something that you want the listeners to leave with?
I would say just learning, keep learning. I think all this foundational change that I have, like it, it is pretty much just from uh, the 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 willingness to learn and just open up to learn and investing a lot of time to learn. I think in our age, like information is totally valuable,
Mm-hmm.
and if we have more information, it actually help us to make better decisions and see life differently, so on and so forth. And yeah, it helped me a lot. I mean, mostly through books and some other experiences, conversations, stuff like that. So totally invest in that. Like it is not only about learning more about the world, but I think learning more about the world and what's outside has actually helped us to actually understand more about ourselves, what is important, what's great, what's something we can do better, uh, what is our identity, what we like, our passion, our strengths, and so on and so forth. So yeah, so keep an open mind, always learn, and yeah, I think it's great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Johnny. Always looking forward to learning from you. And thank you so much for your time.